Hello again everyone, welcome back to another episode of Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. My name is Mars, and today we're going to be doing the complete guide for Christine. Now for those who aren't aware, Christine was recently overhauled to the point that she's basically not even the same unit that she used to be. Her kit is totally different, her rotation is completely different, and it can look pretty intimidating if you're not quite familiar with it. So today's guide is aimed at helping you to figure out how to use Christine, how to build her, and how to get the best use out of her. So the first thing as always that I want to dive into real quick is taking a look at her TMR and her Super TMR. Her TMR ultimately didn't see a whole lot of changes. It does give her a chance to counter with an HP and MP restore, although it says MP by 0%, so I don't quite understand that. It does fill, it's a counter that also fills your limit gauge, which is handy, but that's about it. It's not that special. I'd pretty much only equip this to activate her Trust passive, which gives her a little extra bulkiness, but otherwise you could opt for Circe's TMR instead, and you'll get better value out of that. Now her Super Trust Master reward, on the other hand, is really awesome. It's 50% magic and 50% true dual wield magic, which is extremely rare, and it also gives you 50% ice resistance. Now the only thing that is comparable to this materia is Nagi's STMR. I see a lot of people touting Winter Child and they're saying, oh, this is worth, you know, buying a bundle and then using STMR tickets on. I don't know if that's true, because Winter Child is great, but I don't think it's, you know, buy a bundle and then, you know, use STMR Moogles and stuff like that to get it. I think that's very expensive just to get, you know, like one materia. But if you do also like Christine, it's, you know, if you're going to use Christine anyways, then you may as well go for that STMR, because it is really nice. And pretty hard to get still at this point in the game. Now, Christine has a crapload of skills in here. We're going to try to break it down as simply as possible. She does have a lot of like supporty type stuff, like the ability to just like imperil on demand with Frost Nova, break on demand with Cold Air and Frostfall. In fact, let's look real quick some of her supporting abilities. She has Hand in Hand, which is kind of a chaining skill imbue sort of thing, so it's kind of like what Sylvie has. She has Frozen Armor, which grants mitigation to a single target, and as well as herself, and it also grants 100% ice resist. So this could be really handy in a fight where you need a crap load of ice resist on a tank or a lot of mitigation on a tank, because it also applies it to her. But you know, we already have access to 50% mitigation through other means, so you may not use this very often. And then Frosty Touch is her ice imbue, so if for whatever reason you wanted to use other damage dealers and imbue them with ice, that's definitely an option. And yeah. And that's the crazy thing too, is that her LB actually used to AoE imbue ice on the entire party, but it doesn't do that anymore. So if you want to do ice imbue, that's the way to do it. At least now you can multicast it, which most of the time you basically only need to use it on 2 people, so not a big deal. Now all of the rest of her skills are basically damage skills, and there's a whole lot of them. The first one we'll talk about is Snow Bear Rampage, which is their limit burst. It looks very cool, and it gives you quad cast, and it also reduces ice resist. Meow, big snow bear. It's very cool. I like it. It's very fun. So yeah, that does unlock quad cast, as you can see right here. She has a lot of different chaining abilities, but I'm gonna just focus on the ones that really matter the most, because I'm gonna skip over like Glacial Storm, because this is handy, because this can, you know, this can fill LB for herself. Ice Shards can give you a little bit of absolute zero chaining, but it's not that good. It's not as good as actual absolute zero, which she also has. She also has Snow Burial, which is her Chaos Wave Frame ability, and she has Cold Snap, which is a finishing move. So those are kind of like all of her damage abilities, and by themselves it looks overwhelming, so we're going to try and put them together in her rotation. If you are running a Christine with a Christine partner, which is how I recommend it, Christine unfortunately doesn't do super well with non-Christine friends. She can absolute zero chain like with a Circe, and she does great at that. But otherwise, she's not that good, because she does have quad cast, and like Medina, for example, only has triple cast. So, you know, they're not going to line up perfectly, but Christine and Circe are an okay combination, but really you get the best value out of running 2 Christines, and you'll see why here in a second. And you may have already seen it in the video that I posted the other day, her Tour of Destruction. So when you are opening up your rotation with Christine, the first thing you want to do is Winterfall, which is her W cast. and you want to use Eternal Winter and Frostbite, and these two skills help get her off the ground. To begin with, Eternal Winter decreases ice resistance for all enemies, boosts her own magic, and fills the limit gauge completely for herself and gives her quad cast for 3 turns. And that is 3 turns following the activation turn, sometimes read as 4 turns. And then Frostbite is the other one that she's using that breaks defense and spirit and reduces ice resistance and has a chance to inflict status ailments and enables piercing chill for 3 turns, which is a huge AoE finishing skill. So when you're opening up, these are the 2 cooldown skills that you want to use to kind of move into her following rotation. Cool. So that imperils the boss, that buffs ourself, that gives us access to quadcast, and you'll see at the start of the turn that little ice wave went out at the boss. That's her automatically reapplying an ice imperil, and it gets stronger and stronger for the 3 turns that it's active. So that's super cool. So now that we have quadcast, there's a few abilities we want to use. We want to do Snow Surge first, because this is also a magic boost, but it also boosts the modifiers of some of our abilities, and it increases LB damage. So Snow Surge is one of the abilities that we want to use, so that it increases modifiers, and most importantly, it increases modifiers on Cold Snap, Snow Burial, and Absolute Zero, which are the most common abilities we're going to be using. But for this turn, we're going to do Snow Surge, and then Snow Burial 1 time, and then 2 Cold Snaps. And the reason for this is because Chaos Wave's frames are friendly enough that you're able to finish 2 Cold Snaps on the end of a single Snow Burial cast. So we do Snow Surge for boosted modifiers, Snow Burial to build the chain, and then Cold Snap to finish on it. So just like this. Yeah, and if you had a second Christine, you would see that it caps on itself, which is why Christine is pretty outrageously strong. Now on the second turn, we are going to change it just a little bit. Absolute Zero is going to tend to do more damage than Snow Burial. However, you can't finish 2 of your finishing moves on Absolute Zero. So what you want to do is use Absolute Zero to build your chain modifier to the maximum. Use a Snow Burial so that you have a chain frame that's friendly enough for you to finish with your 2 finishing skills, and then use, in this case, Piercing Chill, because it's going to be stronger on this turn. And if we had a second Christine, you'd see that, you know, this chains up perfectly. She finishes her own chains, and this was actually one of the combos that I ran against Gilgamesh Kai and wiped at 1%. So, you know, it does a lot of burst damage. It's really good. But one thing that you'll notice at this stage is that Christine is like super MP hungry, which is kind of a pain, but you basically continue this same sort of theme. You'll see, however, that this turn, the Piercing Chill, was that what it was called? That unlockable ability is now gone. So instead of using that to finish, we're going to go ahead and use Absolute Zero to build the chain, Snow Burial to allow us to finish it, and then 2 Cold Snaps. And Cold Snap is a ramping damage ability, so over time it's going to do more and more damage, which is awesome. And it's also single target, so keep that in mind. So Piercing Chill is better when you have that available for all enemies. Cold Snap is what you use when you don't have that available. So, and that'll look like this. And you basically just follow this pattern of, okay, I'm building a chain with Absolute Zero, swapping over to the Chaos Wave chaining family, and then finishing with 2 finishing skills. And it does a crazy amount of damage. And it looks very cool. Now, I'm basically tapped out on MP, as you can see. So you do want to bring units who can help with MP management. Zargaboth, Folka, Sylvie, most healers have some sort of MP restore skill. Anything to help her out with that, you definitely want to have. It is very helpful. The good news is on turn, this would be 5, you know, the 5th turn of the rotation, even though it says turn 6 in here. This is when you want to use Snow Bear Rampage, and this will re-enable quadcast for you for the following 2 turns. I guess I lied, because it's actually supposed to be 4 turns. I think this flavor text might be wrong, because it does actually work, or it should. Her 7-star LB at any level will give her quadcast for basically 3 effective following turns. So this is what you do on the 5th turn of the rotation anyways, to continue what you were doing after that. Yeah, that MP drain though is for real. So at this point you have your quadcast up again, you have Snow Surge available, so you can reactivate this. That's recommended for this turn. And then you want to do Chaos Wave so that you can finish your Cold Snaps on it just like this. And that's basically your priority system. The priority is to always activate your cooldowns as you have them, which I think they come up again, or one of them does this turn. Activates your cooldowns as you have them, use Absolute Zero first, Snow Burial second, and then 2 finishing skills at the end of that. And it does, as you saw, crazy damage, and it is a lot of fun to do. So that just about covers her rotation. With that, let's go ahead and jump into some builds. Alright, so there's 2 builds we want to look at with Christine. Obviously, the nice thing about mages is you're gonna go with whatever gives you the highest amount of total magic, while also meeting your minimum survival requirements for a given fight. So with Christine, her best in slot is going to be True Dual Wield. I think that's obvious. Her STMR grants True Dual Wield, and if you have that with some other magic True Dual Wield items, such as Ravenheart or Nagi's STMR, that's going to be your best in slot option. And that's primarily because mages don't have handedness, which I've referred to before, which is where your attack damage between 2 attacks, you know, for a physical dual wielder, is split, where you get the attack from one weapon on one attack and the attack from the second weapon on the second attack. With mages, that's not the case. It just takes your total magic stat, so you get that as high as possible, whether that's through dual wielding or double handing. So her whale build is going to include all of those true dual wield items so that she gets capped out. She innately has 50% true dual wield and 50% true double hand, so she can be built either way, but her best in slot goes the true dual wield route. And I will say, as an additional note, that true dual wield for mages is probably going to be the best in slot pretty much forever, unless they have like an innate 100 or 150% true double hand. True dual wield is going to be best. Grimlord Sakura, I think right now, is the only exception, maybe because she about breaks even, because her TMR is two-handed, so you have to equip her STMR to give her Trust passive, which gives her triple cast. Anyways, it's a whole deal. It's not that much fun to deal with. So anyways, most mages for the rest of forever, including ones that are double-handers like Sophia and also Tsukiko, I believe both of them also have best in slots that are true dual wield. So if you're on the fence about investing in something like Ravenheart or Nagi's STMR or Christine's STMR, just know that it is something that will have a very, very long lifetime. Now, of course, what justice would it be if I didn't at least talk about her true double hand builds? The double hand builds are also very, very good. It's a great way to stack a lot of magic on her. Of course, you're going to want to use Magic Charger, which is Carlette's STMR. It's Carlette's TMR. Much more accessible than an STMR, and it is going to be your biggest source of magical double hand, so that's highly, highly recommended. Other than that, you can use stuff like Magical Potential or Unmatched Wizardry to give you that extra magic double hand. And I think for most players, this is going to be the easiest way for them to help jack up Christine's damage. So do keep that in mind, that if you're not sitting on double Ravenheart, Christine STMR, Nagi STMR type stuff for Magic True Dual Wield, that you may want to go double hand anyways. But the difference is pretty substantial. With True Dual Wield, I can get like another 600 magic over a comparably well, you know, if it's comparably whaley, maybe it's within like 300 magic, but anyways, you get what I'm saying. Christine, as with most mages, prefers True Dual Wield. However, True Double Hand totally works as well. Now with that, let's talk a little bit about whether or not Christine is worth it. We do have a bundle going on right now at the time of this video's release where you can buy a 10,000 Lapis bundle that will give you access to a 7-star Christine if you want one, or access to her STMR if you want one. In my opinion, these bundles are like some of the best value out there, period. Most players could at least find something that would be a benefit to them, perhaps an upgrade or perhaps an item that they want to go after. It is really, really good. But the question is about Christine in specific. In my opinion, if you don't have any mage at all that comes close to Christine's damage, I would say she's a good pick. Mages like Circe or Tsukiko or Kimono Fina are in her neighborhood. I think Kimono Fina does a little bit more damage than Christine. Christine outdamages all of the other mages though. So if you're still sitting there with like Barbarisia or Black Mage Golbez as your mages, you may want to consider Christine as an upgrade because it's 10k Lapis for a guaranteed 7-star. It's really tough to find a deal that's that good. Now, a lot of people are asking, like, well, is it worth it to use my to buy a bundle, get a Christine, use an STMR Moogle, to get her STMR? I would just ask this question to help answer that question, because I've seen this one a lot. A lot of people are asking, do I STMR Moogle Christine's STMR? And the answer is an STMR Moogle worth 10,000 Lapis to you? Because you can buy a bundle and you can use that bundle to STMR Christine. If you're like that dead set on getting a Christine STMR for your mages, you could buy 2 of those bundles. Yeah, it's 20k Lapis, but you get a 7-star Christine and her STMR. I think even paying that in Lapis is better than using an STMR ticket on her, just because the STMR Moogles are still so rare in the game that I would hate to use it on something that only works for mages. And I think that's my main qualm against people using STMR Moogles for it, is because you could buy the bundle for 10,000 Lapis. Like, when else are you going to be able to get an STMR this good that you can just get with a little bit of Lapis comparatively? And so yeah, that's my take on it. I don't think you should necessarily STMR Moogle it unless like you super wanted it. Then of course go for it. But for me, I wouldn't do that in 100 years, because I could just use some Lapis on the bundles and get it that way, and that way I don't have to give up my STMR Moogles, which are super, super rare. Now, that being said, if you're still on the, you could consider instead getting a Ravenheart, instead of Christine's STMR. That at least is more versatile. It works for mages, it works for physical DPS, and it gives you some killers, and it gives you some flat stats. Like, it's really, really good. It's best in slot for almost every unit in the game. So, those are just some things that are kicking around in my brain when it comes to that. The challenging thing about Christine going forward is that you may struggle to find chaining partners going forward into the future, because Christine is a limited time unit, and while anybody has access to her right now, there probably won't be that many people who keep her up as friends in the future. So just keep that in mind. If you're a huge Christine fan and you want to use her going forward, you may have to crowdsource some friends to help you with chaining partners, because she really doesn't do as well without a duplicate chaining partner. So that's why I recommend, network, make some friends, find your Christine fans, band together, make sure that you've got each other's numbers, because otherwise, give it a month or so and you may not be able to find Christines on your friends list, especially because one of the other things I'll say is that the way that mages are going in Global Edition, the way that they're catching up with physical damage dealers in terms of their total damage output, Christine is probably not going to be on top of the pack even for more than a couple of weeks. Kimono Fina does more damage than her technically already. So yeah, the mages are going to get power creeped really quick for a short period of time, in my opinion. That's my guess. That's what I anticipate will happen, because we've got Soul, who's coming soon, presumably, X-Death, who's coming soon, presumably, Kefka as well as CG Dark Fina, as well as, and then, several months out, we'll have CG Ishtola, and all of those mages are probably going to be better than Christine. We already know that ones like Terra and Kefka and CG Fina, CG Dark Fina, and some of those other ones will be better. And ones like Soul and X-Death, we can reasonably expect them to be buffed to be as good as, if not better than Christine. So that's just something to keep in mind. Those are my thoughts regarding Christine. That being said, she is one hell of a fun unit to use. She does crazy awesome damage, and she is just super, super cool. So that about does it for our complete guide for Christine. Let me know what you thought of this video down in the comments below, and I'll see everybody in the next video.